So we are live at the We are live in the Make Shit Happen studios. I'm over here today with Greg Shcienman, good friend of mine, and it was great meeting Greg last week. Greg, you are an insurance broker for top brands and entrepreneurs, creator of Midlife Male Podcast, an executive athlete. I'm gonna have to ask you what that means. A father, a family man, and a good citizen of city of Houston.
I hope to be all of those things.
Now you moved from New York, right? You grew up in New York?
Yes. So born and raised in New York. I am a lifer of New York, 47 years old right now, or about to be 47 years old, and I've been in Houston for going on 18 years.
Really? What month? When is your birthday?
12/23, right before Christmas.
12/23.
Yes.
That's where the 23 comes from too.
Birthday, Michael Jordan, LeBron James, old New York Islander, Bobby Nystrom, all my guys that wore 23.
All the greats. So let me ask you a question. Since you're a lifer, a New Yorker, you are a New York Yankee fans or?
Yankees. Yep.
Yankees.
Mm-hmm.
So what did you think when we beat them?
So the Yankees are always my favorite team. I'll never lose that. But the Astros are my adopted team. So I'm always pulling for the Astros and I'm always pulling for the Yankees, except when they're playing each other, in which case our tickets were on the Yankee side. I'm wearing Yankee gear. My wife and my two boys are all decked out in Astros gear from head to toe. So it was a house divided and a little uncomfortable situation.
I really want to know how that the temperature in the house is, because I'm sure the wife kind of wins all the time.
You know what they say, happy wife, happy life. Well, that was a rough couple of days.
A rough couple of days. Are you a basketball fan?
I am a Rockets fan. I did not keep my allegiance to the Knicks.
Oh, no.
And the Rockets are a far better squad.
Okay, good. And of course, you probably never went to the Nets side, huh?
Nah, nobody goes to the Nets side.
Oh. And what about the football?
Grew up a Giants fan. Honestly, never really mattered to me. I went to college at University of Michigan, so I'm a college football guy. Mm-hmm. So go blue, Wolverines all the way. The pro side, just my kids are into fantasy football, and I was into it for a while. But again, the Texans are the adopted home team now.
Well, the problem is, well, you came from the Giants. The Giants can disappoint you, so can the Texans, and you were with the Knicks, so I don't know.
Yeah, look, I like the Giants back when, again, they were winning with Sims and Bavaro and all that. We can do the sports thing all day long.
Yeah.
But once you move, and you see the shit show that's been going on over there, and we're so blessed in Houston here with amazing stadiums and great character and the team's development. I mean, it's been cool to be in Houston while that team actually got started, and watching the evolution of the Texans.
So what made you come to Houston?
As you said, I'll go back. Happy wife, happy life. So my beautiful wife, Kate, is born and raised in Houston, Texas. She grew up in Bel Air. And as our relationship developed and evolved and we thought about where we wanted to settle down and raise our family and plant roots, it was Houston. I always enjoyed the people, the quality of life. And it felt like the right place for us to settle down and raise a family.
And where did you meet Kate at?
So we met at the Sky Bar of the Mondrian Hotel in Los Angeles, California.
Really?
Yes.
So you're from New York. She's from Houston. You met her at
a bar in LA.
Wow.
So if anybody will tell you or would have told me that I would be married with kids living in Houston, Texas, fast forward 18 years, I would have said, bet the under, my friend, okay? Because that shit's never going to happen. And here we are, and I wouldn't change it for anything.
So tell me a couple of things that you like about Houston. I know a lot of people, say, oh, man, the food is great. I mean, nobody likes the humidity in Houston, but what do you like? What do you like about Houston?
First and foremost, I really like the people. Coming out of New York, for example, and being a jaded, hard-edged kind of New Yorker. I mean, the first visits that I had down to Houston, were amazing and really eye-opening to me. The people in the airport were friendly, okay? We went to the grocery store. I remember the first time I went to a grocery store here in Houston with my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, and we were dating. She knew everybody that worked there, and they knew her by name, also. I'd been living in New York in an apartment in Manhattan for 7 or 8 years at the time. You didn't even speak to the person in the elevator with you. You walk right. It was such an eye-opening experience from the people. But But you mentioned food. I work with a lot of hospitality and restaurant and food and beverage operators around here. And that has evolved so much, in particular, over the last 10 years. I mean, we have an amazing culinary scene. The chefs, the restaurants, those men and women they became my celebrities, my rock stars. You know, coming out of New York and California and other areas, getting down here, it was the men and women who were building these amazing brands and these amazing restaurants, and that's your night out.
So tell me, what's your go-to favorite restaurant?
Go-to where we are most often is Copa in West University. It's one of the Clark Cooper concepts that they have. So we're pretty much at Copa almost every Friday night. My boys love the pizza. They take such good care of us over there. The food is great. And the environment is close to our house. That's our go-to staple.
I know you told me last time you eat pretty clean.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me what you eat most of the time.
So clean to me is that nutrition is more of a lifestyle than a diet.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So again, I've got my nutritional goals where I try to be higher protein, moderate carbs, good fats, clean on the beverage side of things. I drink, basically coffee and water are pretty much what I drink if it's not a smoothie that I'm making myself. If I am going to drink alcohol, it's clean. It's silver Blanco tequila. It's like pretty simple sipping there. A lot of vegetables in there. I try to eat lean proteins in terms of chicken and fish. I've reduced my red meat content down a lot. I've integrated a bunch more carbs back into my diet, sweet potatoes, nuts, rices, pastas, of various degrees. It depends really what I'm training for also and how I'm feeling.
So you have a podcast, Midlife Male Podcast, and you also have a website, gregshcienman.com. Do you discuss on those, like, the diets or the lifestyle, or what should someone do if they want to live healthy? I mean, is there...
It's a great question. So the impetus for this is that I'm in the risk business.
Mm-hmm.
Really, I'm in the risk management business, and I work with a lot of risk takers and entrepreneurs. And this whole project started as an evolution of the risk business, talking about how to mitigate risk, talking about ensuring success, which is the motto. And that translates into all aspects of life: personal, professional, health, fitness, family, finance. And as the project kind of evolved, and I am a midlife male, turning the corner into 47, married, a few kids, those were a lot of the conversations I was having and questions I were getting were more lifestyle questions. Right. Even with clients and friends, yes, we talked a lot about business, but it was more of the challenges, the daily routine, the grind, the frustration, how to persevere. I'm putting on a little weight. I'm not sleeping as well. Maybe I'm drinking too much, or I'm not eating. All of these things. So it evolved into the midlife male, which really is, for me, a way to try to help men better navigate middle age to achieve a better quality of life. That this next phase is not the end. It's the beginning. We're living longer. We can live healthier. We can be more prosperous. We can persevere. We can generate new forms and streams of income, even with what you're doing. So that's how the podcast and the blog really evolved. And it's a combination, it's a long-winded answer, of my personal passions with my professional expertise.
So, and you're right? Absolutely right. Like, when a man turns 40, they start thinking about different things. Like, okay, hey, do I need to work out more? Do I need to look better? How long am I going to live? Healthy lifestyle, all that stuff. I mean, I'm 42, so of course I'm thinking about it every day, right? And so I love that. So on that Midlife Male podcast, let's talk about it a little bit more. What do you discuss? I mean, if someone wants like some kind of help, okay, hey, I have bags under my eyes, or, should I dye my hair or not? Or should I just let it go gray? I mean,
it's great. And it's all topical. So one, I think men have a little bit of a challenge or a reluctance or a difficulty in appearing vulnerable and asking a lot of these questions, certainly in a room full of people, if you will, or raising their hand or putting themselves out there. And we talked about this even at breakfast about, even on social media, I don't get a lot of comments publicly from guys about even what I post about, but it is all of that.
So Greg, you're on Facebook and Twitter?
I'm on Facebook. Just look me up at Greg Shcienman. I'm on Instagram at Greg Shcienman. Not very creative. I'm on Twitter, but I rarely, if ever, tweet. It's out there. And I'm on
Facebook
LinkedIn
and Instagram
and LinkedIn all the time.
And LinkedIn all the time.
Where my audience and demographic really seems to be and get a lot of information is also through LinkedIn.
And LinkedIn is so evolving, and I mean so much better for where business people kind of live.
Mm-hmm.
Entrepreneurs, anybody who has anything to do with work. I mean, I think LinkedIn is going to that mode where it's more mature working adult is at.
I agree. I think the information that I'm gleaning from LinkedIn, and again, entrepreneurs, risk takers, founders, CEOs of brands and businesses that I have a lot of respect for or are just getting introduced to, there's a lot of great information out there. Newsletters that are being put out, weekly blogs and posts. So I'm finding it a real source of inspiration and a great connection source, as opposed to I'm not looking for a job. Mm-hmm. I'm looking for connection, for networking, for personal and professional development. Absolutely. And to be of service to businesses and entrepreneurs out there.
Absolutely. So tell me about this executive athlete. Tell me a little bit about that.
So
I'm sure a lot of people are wondering, what is an executive athlete?
Yes, so am I also. Okay, so I didn't coin the term either. I've adopted it from my friend Ken Lubin, who actually hosts the Executive Athlete podcast, and was cool enough to have me on a couple of years ago. But I adopted it because I do believe it's what I am. And what I mean by that is, about 5 years ago, I was introduced to an event called the D10 Decathlon. And it is an actual decathlon where executives use their athleticism to raise money to fight pediatric cancer and for pediatric cancer research. So it was a way, again, to combine my passion for health and fitness and wellness with a goal of competing in this event against and with other executives, and my commitment to philanthropy. So it checked all of those boxes, and I got introduced to the event. And for the last 4 years, I've been competing in it in Houston. The organization, which is the D10.com, has raised almost $15 million over the last 10 years to fight pediatric cancer. It's expanded the event to 10 different markets, and it's introduced me to an incredible community of executive athletes all around the country. So I've adopted that term. I've taken it to heart, and the vast majority of the networking, connection, and activities that I partake in my life really are through fitness and health and wellness in a lot of ways. I meet my clients and friends for breakfast and for workouts. I prefer sweat working, as we call it, to nights, to evenings out that take me away from my family or maybe throw me off track with nutrition or drinking or other things like that. So it's been amazing for me to find like-minded men and women out there that are still, competing at a high level, both in business and on the field.
So tell me something about this D10.com, you said, right? And it fights cancer and cure, like it's for a cure for cancer in children.
So basically, the D10 as an organization raises money.
And it's
money
all over the country.
So it's in 10 markets right now. It was founded in New York to crown the fittest man and woman on Wall Street was the original title.
Wow. So 15 million raised was in these 10 markets.
And most of it in New York, because the other markets have evolved just over the last few years. This is year 4 in Houston. And the organization partners with different pediatric cancer research facilities in each market. And then all the money raised from each competition, each athlete has to raise a certain amount of money just to be allowed to compete in the event.
So tell me, you said, so it kind of serves your philanthropy and your, you get to compete and work out and all that stuff. Tell me a little bit more about your philanthropy, if you don't mind.
Sure. It's a great question. I mean, and I think you've probably recognized this in business with all of your success too. I feel like the more you give, the more fulfilled you are, and the more you get.
And the universe gives you more back, huh?
Absolutely. So on a corporate level with Inns Group, with our firm, and we're up to almost 160 people at the firm now. we've really made a concentrated effort to be more philanthropic and organized and more purposeful and intentional with our philanthropic giving at the firm too. So whether it's for breast cancer, whether it's for education, whether it's supporting our clients' causes and the causes that we have, kind of an overall firm commitment to philanthropy and corporate giving. So that's one area that we take a lot of pride in over there. Individually for me, and I think, and I'll put this back to you too, I mean, we are so pressed for time with everything that we have on our plate. So it becomes very difficult to say yes to everything. So how do you pick and choose? And the last few years for me have been kind of a deep dive internally to find things and opportunities that, again, check multiple boxes, meaning I like to exercise, I like to be healthy, I like to be around all of those people. Is there a way I can combine this with philanthropy too? And that's where the D10 and the decathlon kind of check that box. So personally, I think I've raised $50,000, $60,000 in the last 4 years through an incredible network of very generous friends, family, clients out there that are donating. And the cool thing is, whether you like me or you don't like me, you can bet on me or you can bet against me in the event. So there are some goals that are set and some performance metrics. So when we're out in the field, like, hey, my missing that last pull-up a couple of weeks ago still bothers the shit out of me because it cost me like $900 that it could have gone to cancer. So it inspires you to train a little harder too.
So you said Ends Group. That's the name of the company. That's your company, right?
So I'm a shareholder in the firm. There are about 10 of us, privately owned, independent insurance firm consisting of property and casualty, employee benefits, and what we call private client, which is more high-end personal insurance.
And you said you have 100 and some people working?
We're up to about 160 people in the firm right now. It's led by a gentleman named Brian Kapeloff. He and his father started the firm, his father David, who passed away a couple of years ago, who was our CEO and chairman. Brian is now running the firm, and he's an incredible leader. And what's happened with our firm is really remarkable, and I'm just proud to be a part of it.
That's awesome. So, and you joined the firm how long ago?
So I am going on 12 years. I was on your side. I was on the entrepreneur side, the risk taker side of things, and was a client early on. And when I was fortunate enough to have an exit from my last company that I had started, I did not know what I was going to do.
Tell us a little bit about your early life. So we know you grew up in New York, and you met your wife in LA. So tell me a little bit about how were you as a kid? I mean, were you always into sports, into playing? Were you always fit like you are? Tell me a little bit about that.
All over the place, and it's a great question. I grew up on the North Shore of Long Island. I grew up in a very privileged town, a very privileged household. Mother, father. Father was an entrepreneur. I've got two younger brothers. In a lot of ways, there was nowhere to go but down from where I started overall. And that changed for me and our family around the time I was about 15. So my father got cancer. He got lung cancer. He was a big smoker out there. And while they gave him 6 months, he did make it, a couple of years, but he did pass away when I was headed into my freshman year of college. So back in 92. And I was 17 years old. My middle brother was 14 and my youngest brother was 8. So younger than even my boys are now. My two boys are 16 and 13. And that, that changes your perspective.
Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that.
Oh, I appreciate it. It changes your perspective on a lot of things. And I think you can go a number of different ways. You can be healthy. You can go, I'm never going to smoke. I'm never going to do it. You can go off the rails. You can come together as a family. You can go your separate ways. I mean, and you lose kind of your mentor, your patriarch of the family. And I tried all of it, man. I tried going off the rails. I drank, I smoked, I didn't exercise, I partied, I tried all of it.
Tried all of it.
And I think you find over time what works for you and what doesn't work for you, and you got to kind of check yourself and bring yourself back. And I went away to college in Michigan, so I didn't have any real checks and balances when I was that far away from home and nobody really looking out or looking after me there. So I've just trial and error. I mean, I have failed over and over and over and over and over again, and then started to limit what doesn't work and try to maximize what does work. And I'm still fucking figuring it out, man.
So tell me this about, so your father passed away, you were 15, you said.
So I was 17 when he passed away.
15 when he had
got
cancer.
Sick. Yeah,
cancer. How was that? Like growing up, father was sick, he was the safety net.
Yeah.
I mean,
it was hard, again, because everybody around me had no hardship. It seemed like, not that everybody doesn't have everybody's got I just didn't know about. I mean, from the outside looking in, everybody had a prosperous lifestyle. Nobody was dealing with any hardship. Their mother and father were able to show up at all the parties and the events and everything else. And I had a bit of a taxing relationship with my mother growing up anyway, and my father was really my best friend and my inspiration and motivation and mentor. And it was a real challenge to watch somebody strong and inspiring and motivating and entrepreneurial to just change and weaken, and deteriorate and be helpless about it at the same time.
Man, yeah, that can be really hard as a young man growing up. I mean, a bunch of emotions going on, don't know what is what.
It is. If there wasn't a microphone and headphones on here, I'd probably be bawling already. Somehow, like it breaks the barrier, and it allows you maybe to step outside yourself and speak about it a little bit differently.
And I'm sorry if I'm bringing a sore subject over here, because my father passed away 10 years ago, and every time I talk about him, I cry. So I'm not going to talk about it right now.
No, look, it's good stuff, and we should. We have to continue to deal with these things. I will say this: I think it's made me a better father. I think it's helped me appreciate life in a lot of ways, try to live life to the fullest, try to keep certain things in perspective. And now as I'm about the age where he did pass away, I think of how much more life I have in front of me and how young that actually is. Yeah. And that I'm in the bonus time right now. I always say to people like, hey, like, I'm headed into my 47th year. Okay, this is the bonus time. Like, Dad didn't get this far. Like let's use it.
That's it. So I mean, so tell me some of your mottos you go by. Let me just put it this way. I mean, since you just said it's bonus time, what are some of the mottos you're like, you know what, I got to do this. My father didn't get to do this.
Yeah.
Or you know what, I got to do these for my kids, or I got to do this for my wife, or I got to do this for my business, or people who work with me. What are some of those things?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, and I don't want this to come across as selfish, but first and foremost, you got to do things for you. Like I got to do things for me first, because unless I'm feeling fulfilled or good, or I'm questioning, or I'm having issues internally or things with myself, it makes it really hard for me to be good for anybody else. So I think you got to really focus on trying to take care of yourself first, so that you can be better to everybody else around you. So that's one of the things that I have learned and kind of adopt, certainly more over the last few years than ever before. But as far as mottos go, I mean, there are a couple. I mean, one I say a lot is, the harder you work, the luckier you get.
Yeah.
In there. And the other one is, I fumble this a lot too. It's, we don't stop playing because we get old. We get old because we stop playing.
Oh, I love it.
That's one that I go with all the time. I don't like watching shit, Sam.
Yeah.
I like producing it. I like doing it. I'd rather create content than consume it. I'd rather be on the field, than be in the stands. I'd rather coach that group of kids than, again, just drop off than just watch. You know what I mean? Like,
I love it. So you're more of a doer than just watcher, or somebody who's standing on the sidelines and seeing shit happen.
Yeah, I'm a shitty negotiator.
So you are like one of those guys, make shit happen.
I try, but I'm saying, like, I am. I'm a shitty negotiator and a representative for myself. But I think it's also why I gravitated towards the business that I'm in later in life, is that I'm a better agent for everybody else. Like, I want to know your story. I want to represent you. I want to fight and battle for you, because if it was just me, and myself, I'd give away the farm. Like, what do you want? I'll give it to you.
So talking about that, I'm going to cut you off over here. You said in your field. So in your field, what are some of the things that you think most people undersee or never see, or they underestimate it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're in the insurance business,
Yeah.
risk business.
Risk, absolutely. First and foremost, there's a lot of denial. It's not going to happen to me. It's not going to happen to me. I'm not going to be the guy that gets cancer. No. So you don't prepare for life insurance and disability. My house isn't going to burn to the ground. So you quote the lowest price, or you take your single biggest investment, which is typically your home outside of your business and everything else, and you buy on price. You don't really know what you have, to protect it. Businesses are like this too. They're so focused. Entrepreneurs are they're such great risk takers. Such great risk takers. Anybody who steps out and starts their own business, like somebody like has got such big balls, out there in all of these areas that sometimes it's hard to look in the rear view mirror a little bit or say, hey, how do I mitigate risk? What should I really be looking out for? Because you're so focused on going and growing and blowing over there that it's so hard to look back and to say, hey, here's what we need to do to maybe button this stuff up. But the reality is, what I love about this is, look, your business and your family and your life are the most important assets that you have. How do you find the right partner to work with to help protect you, educate you, and be there to protect everything that you've built? That's a really, really cool responsibility if you think about it.
Absolutely.
How you can be in that circle of trust, and how you can help people and live vicariously through their dreams and their vision, and say, if that truck, has an incident, or this roof falls down, or this thing falls off the top of this warehouse on somebody else, or all these things that we don't want to fucking think about. Sorry, I curse a lot.
No problem.
Okay? But this is where the passion and then the geek out kind of thing comes in. You do not want any one of these little bumps in the road or these hurdles or these, it could be it could be even a tragedy. You want the time to mourn and handle it properly, but you do not want it to derail you from accomplishing your long-term goals or hurt everything you've worked so hard to build.
So let me sum it up. So what you're saying is that some of the things that most people understand is like, it's not going to happen to me. So they don't prepare for it, and they don't have enough coverage, or they don't secure themselves.
Yep.
Am I
Denial is not a good form of risk management. Okay?
What do they say? Ignorance is a bliss. So, and I'm not going to die. I'm only 35 years old. I'm only 50 years old. Mm-hmm. Nothing's going to happen to me. I'm not going to get hit by a car.
Yep.
Something like that. Look, I don't need life insurance right now.
Absolutely. Look, there's a lot of plausible deniability.
Yeah.
There's a lot of lack of accountability. You see, I could turn all this stuff around on you. Hey, it's either the carrier's fault, the broker's fault, but it's not, or the person I delegated it to fault. It's not my fault.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, but it is.
Yeah. So that's that. I mean, that's good. So you're telling me that whatever people need to do, they should, in your field, they should secure themselves. They should cover themselves. They should have some kind of coverage.
Well, I think it's more. I think they should find the right partner and the right advocate.
So that was my next question.
Yeah.
Right there. And I'm gonna cut you off over here because you're gonna take my limelight.
Hey, it says Sam right on the cup right there. This is all you. Okay.
So there's a lot of insurance agencies outside. I mean, you can go to every time I turn on the TV, I see Allstate or a bunch of these, the big name insurance agencies. So is it okay to get life insurance through them? Is it okay to get life insurance through another broker? How do we find somebody who we can trust?
Look, it's a great question. I mean, you've been building a brand that is all about trust for years.
Right.
I mean, look at where you've gotten. Then there's how many furniture stores? You did not go into a business that was not a crowded field.
Yeah,
when you entered it. It was not crowded. It was crowded. It was competitive, and every industry is.
Yeah.
But somehow, okay, the best work with the best. The cream rises to the top. Yes, Mata, I believe that there are ways to transcend the industry, to be credible, to be valuable, and to have people trust you. And I think that comes down to the broker selection process, really. We're an independent firm, so we represent our clients, not any one insurance carrier. A lot of what you see on TV are what they call the direct writers, and I don't want to go too deep in this area, but the entrepreneurs, businesses, individuals we work with are performing at a very, very high level, and they require an elevated level of sophistication in their coverage and their programs. So what we advocate for is to interview the broker selection process. I'll tell you who I think even the best in the field are out there, who my direct competitors are,
Gotcha.
who are the most knowledgeable in their area. Interview those men and women and those firms and figure out which one you think is the best fit for you. Where do you want to buy your furniture? Who do you want to buy it from? Who's going to stand by the product? Who knows the most in there? How many claims have they settled? What's their experience level? What's their methodology and purpose? And then choose the right one for you, because life is all about choice.
But choose somebody.
You gotta choose somebody, because this business of I'm just gonna go get a bunch of different quotes in, and I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna have to sit here in the middle trying to figure all this shit out for myself. Not really a recipe for success.
And don't leave yourself exposed. That's property, your life, your vehicle, whatever. Just don't leave it exposed.
The same methodology you use to select your doctor, your attorney, your accountant, your circle of trust, put that risk manager inside that circle too.
And going from individual insurance to an entrepreneur or a business. I mean, some people don't realize in business how important it is to have insurance. How important is the coverage? How important it is to make the right selection. I mean, shit can happen anytime. We had a store at our store in Alameda. Somebody broke in. They wanted to get the safe out. Well, when they were taking the safe out of there, they wrapped it up with the chain, got it with the tow truck, taking it out. Or when they were taking it out, when the safe dangled, somehow it hit one of the water pipelines, flooded the whole store. There was about 8 inches of water in the store. If we don't have any insurance, or we don't have any coverage, I mean, we're screwed. I mean, the store was closed for a month. And I mean, whatever happened next with that insurance is a different story. But I mean, you got to have because when I went to sleep that night, I had no idea that somebody was going to break in my store, and I was going to wake up to my store being flooded with 10 inches of water because the water had gone in there for 5 hours. I mean, business. I mean, we had a girl who was making a coffee run and slipped and fell and broke her tailbone. And if we didn't have workers' comp, it would have been a bad thing. And I mean, so business people and entrepreneurs, sometimes we drop dollars and we try to pick up dimes. I mean, so I always say that. I mean,
I love that.
I mean, they always they want to save that 10 cents or 50 cents or whatever, and they just drop in dollars all day long.
I think it's all about also operating intelligently. And I think you make all great points here. And I'm not a doom and gloom or a scare tactics guy at all, but I will say, you can't live scared. You should live prepared. And there are steps that you can take to help mitigate your risk and help provide greater peace of mind that you've done the very best you possibly can to surround yourself with the best people, the best product, the best coverage. I mean, look, it's service, price, and coverage. It's every business, right? I mean, It's the 3 things. And what do they usually say? Pick 2, in there. But if you can get 3, get 3.
So what I like is, where we getting to, and what you said earlier, and going back to that thing, that pick a broker, pick a partner, pick somebody who's going to guide you and tell you, hey, this is what you need covered. Just think about it. A couple of years ago when City of Houston got hit by Harvey, I think there was a number, I can't remember, but 68 to 69% people did not have flood insurance because we never thought we were going to get flooded. And then Imelda happened right after, and some people still didn't have it.
We can go down the rabbit hole on this as we talked about. You can talk about definitions of business interruption and business income and how many people got hired and fired over those situations.
Absolutely.
We can go down the rabbit hole. You mentioned workers' comp and how, listen, we live in a state that it does not require it at all.
Exactly.
That doesn't make it, that doesn't mean you should. I mean, there are evaluations on all of this stuff. And I know super, super intelligent and successful people on both sides of the fence, and everybody has their own perspective on risk based on what they've experienced or haven't, and how to design this, or how much risk they want to retain or lay off. But I would just finish on this. Think about, if people go into this, just think about cost of risk. Mm-hmm. What is your day-to-day cost of risk? And how do you take the right steps to actually reduce that? Most people and businesses do not actually know what their true cost of risk is. And if you don't know that, it's hard to identify and figure out where we can and cannot retain and lay off other risk.
Greg, we live in an age where everybody has become a broadcaster all of a sudden. We have this camera phone. We have the phone that we can broadcast everything. Broadcast on Facebook, broadcast on YouTube, broadcast on Twitter. And, people want to be famous nowadays, right? And now, and there's this, movement that's going on in our country. And we had this difficult time where when you're a male, you got to be scared about certain things, especially if you're a successful male. Mm-hmm. And, what I'm talking about is like the Me Too movement.
Let's dig it.
Let's
get into it.
So there's a lot of male entrepreneurs, and they don't shit where they eat at, and we understand that, and they protect themselves. They treat their employees right, and they're ethical. But how, we don't know. It's we live in a country. It's you're guilty and you're innocent until proven guilty, or basically with the man, you're guilty until proven innocent, right? So how do I protect myself from this Me Too movement, as far as you're concerned?
Well, it's a double-edged sword with the question. So there's personal and there's professional.
Right.
Mm-hmm. There's the court of public opinion, and there's what you can potentially put in place to try to protect yourself. The best way, obviously, personally, as well as anything, to protect yourself is to, again, be smart and conduct yourself in a proper manner. Now, do we live in a very litigious society? Do we live in a world of the court of public opinion in a lot of ways? Has the Me Too movement, if you will, been taken to the nth degree? I don't want to get into how far on or off the scale these things, have gotten. But I think, one, we're responsible for our own behavior as much as possible. I advise people certainly to document. We talk about in all instances. A lot of these accusations and things come up because of one-on-one situations. Mm-hmm. I think in a corporate environment, you should try to always have another person or persons in the room, overall. I think we just have to be conscious and we have to be careful. So, now, there are policies and there are programs professionally like EPLI, which is Employment Practices Liability, wrongful termination, sexual harassment, discrimination, that are designed to respond to accusations, lawsuits, things of this nature. There is no insurance that's going to protect you from when you've committed a crime. When you've committed a crime. However, we do know in today's day and age, anybody also can sue anybody or point fingers and accuse for any reason almost at any time. And the cost of defense is what really, really can hurt somebody.
Exactly.
Personally and professionally, it can cost you enough money to bury you to be found innocent.
Yes. Also, and that's why I think it's so important for businessmen, for entrepreneurs to have good attorney, good insurance broker, and a good tax person.
And they all need to be working together. The point is, they all need to be working together, and they all need to stay in their lane.
Exactly.
Meaning that accountants that are giving insurance advice, maybe not. Attorneys that are, insurance people that are giving legal advice or financial advice. Yeah. And then the idea is, again, as you said, to build that team and have everybody stay in their lane and work together for the benefit of the individual that is retaining them.
Yeah, and when I didn't say accountant, I said tax person, because there's depends on what bracket you're in.
Sure.
You might need more than an accountant.
Sure.
Okay.
I think we all need more than we have.
More than what we have.
In just about every area.
And then, everybody should work together. At the same time, the lawyer should not make insurance decisions or what policy you should buy. They should read the policy and make sure it's the right policy. But definitely, so my advice, what I will say, and I'm sure you'll agree with me, that everyone needs, a good attorney, a good insurance broker, to make sure there's enough coverage, make sure there's enough coverage and everything is covered, and then a good tax team. I mean, a tax, an accountant, a tax attorney, whatever it might be, the tax people.
No, I couldn't agree with you more. And I also think one thing that's important is, and the reason you're doing this, and one of the reasons I'm here is, of course, I'm going to agree with you because I want to learn from you because you've done it. Okay, you've started from the ground up and built a business and have how many employees do you have now?
I got 286.
Okay, how large is the warehouse we walked through?
176,000.
Okay,
Square feet.
I'm saying you're doing it, and you've done it, and
I'm trying.
You're beyond trying. You're doing, and I think it's really important to just be open minded to learn from people that are smarter than you, that are doing it, that have experienced these things. And not put your blinders on and think you know everything. I mean, it's one of the reasons I do the show too, is I can say everybody out there is smarter than I am. I feel like hey, feed me more information so that I can learn and I can get better. And I want to know what's gone well. I want to know what's gone wrong. I want to know how you fought through it, how you pivoted. I mean, those things to me are fascinating.
I think you nailed it, right there when you say, basically never stop learning. I mean, that should be the motto of everybody. Learn from other businessmen, learn from, and I think we talked about this, if you're a doctor, you just don't stop learning. If you're an attorney, you don't stop learning. Whatever field you're in, you're an accountant, you don't stop learning.
They have continuing education is a requirement in a lot of businesses. Just the term continuing education should be applied to life in general.
To life in general. I mean, amen to that. Tell me Greg, what are some of your most valuable lessons you've learned in life?
It's such a great question. We could be here for another 2 hours on this alone and trying to drill this down. I don't know if there's necessarily, I'll give you a couple, but theoretically, I don't know if there's necessarily one most valuable lesson. It comes back to what we just said, constantly keep learning. Mm-hmm. And I feel there are lessons that I learn every day. Some are tiny, small, tiny little lesson. Like I saw a friend of mine yesterday who just took a train from Miami to Palm Beach, and he wrote about just enjoying the time that he had on the train to sit, look out the window, read, gather his thoughts versus driving in a car with one hand on the wheel and the other hand on the phone. And I was like, what a great way to utilize time that he needed on a valuable lesson. I mean, the number one lesson I would have to say is that life is short. And you just never know when your time is up or when something will happen that will alter the course of your life and your ability to live it in the manner that you want to. Mm-hmm. So you really need to have your priorities in order. You really do need to live every day, and you need to think about what it is you want to do, what you want to accomplish. And you can think short term as well as long term, because all my health and fitness and wellness, it is not going to stop me. Okay. When the bus hits me, when the bus hits me, it's not going to help me if the bus hits me crossing the street. So I think it's perseverance. I think it's living without regret. I think it's trying to live for today without throwing caution to the wind about tomorrow also, if that makes sense.
So some things you said, nowadays with social media, Instagram memes, Pinterest memes, some of the stuff can be really misconstrued. Like you said, live your life, don't have no regrets. Some people can take that out of context, right? And say, well, shit, I heard it said live your life. I'm going to live my life. I'm going to get drunk every night. I'm going to splurge every penny I make. Mm-hmm. What do you think about that?
I think it's total bullshit. I think it's a cop-out. I think there's so much of this stuff that you can eat up, and you can get all these false positives there. Uh-huh. Living your life doesn't mean living irresponsibly.
Yeah.
Living without regret doesn't mean spending every dollar you make and partying every night. It means having intention, I think, and having purpose overall, and purpose, process, payoff, that there's a plan to everything. What kind of legacy do you want to leave? How do you want to be perceived? How do you want to be looked upon? But also, how do you perceive yourself? How do you feel about yourself? How much time and attention are you spending on what anybody else thinks versus what you think? I mean, and there's a lot of this out there, and not on, you should quit your job and you should start your business and you should, you know what? That's not right for everybody. maybe for some overall, but there's a lot to be said for getting up every day and going to work and doing a very good job and earning a living and finding passion and purpose and productivity in what you do. Not everybody is also cut out for getting up and walking out of your door right now and go play and starting their own business and doing all that too. And I don't think there should be any shame at all or any regret in doing good work for really good people and showing up, getting up, getting dressed and showing up every day. And you, by the way, you know how much fucking pressure's on you? And who wants it?
Yeah.
How many people really want it?
But
and are willing to do what it takes. The grass isn't always greener.
The grass is not always green on the other side. Sometimes people, I always tell people like I have a lot of people that say, I want to be just like you, and I'm like, well, good for you if you can do it. And being in business for yourself, I love it. I want people to know, since you threw me in there, so I'm going to say, I want people to have their own. I want people to be, but sometimes it's not cut out for everybody. Not everybody can get up out of their bed and get ready, take a shower, and get out that door and go to their office and be in there forever, or their business or their storefront, or go knock on doors, or whatever it is, whatever field they are in.
Just be told no all the time.
Greg, let me tell you.
Okay, how many doors got slammed in your face on the way up? Okay, how many deliveries didn't get made? How many orders were wrong? How many systems did you put in place that probably failed miserably, and you got to try, and you get up every damn time and you keep moving forward? How many people are really cut out for that kind of beating, honestly, every single day?
And a lot of people need to understand, when you have employees working for you, their mistakes is your mistake.
Absolutely.
Because the customer don't see. If I go to Starbucks right now and the guy if I say I want no whipped cream and I leave and the guy puts whipped cream on there, I'm not talking about, John put whipped cream on there. You know what I'm talking about? Starbucks sucks.
Mm-hmm. And now, as you said, you can tweet it, you can post it, you can take a picture of it, you can talk about it here on the podcast. Anybody, okay? In 120 characters or less, in 5 seconds or less, can fucking bury the brand that you've been working 20 years, okay? Take Greg, shot at that brand that you've been working your whole life to build, and you take it all to heart and all personally, as hard as it is not to.
So I take it very seriously.
It's rough. Of course you do. That's why you're successful.
I watch, and this might be like, you might think this is going overboard, but I read every review that come in. And we get on it like right away. So like yesterday, I'll give you yesterday's example. Okay. Well, the salesperson didn't check stock right. Didn't check the stock. Promised the customer delivery for Tuesday. Well, we don't have the furniture. Call the customer. Hey, listen, it'll be here next Monday. They don't want to wait for it. Okay, well, what can we do to make it better? I want my money back. Okay, we'll give you your money back. He then blasted on every medium how terrible exclusive furniture is, and how we did not make every effort to keep his business there. Well, we did, but we don't want to make you mad. If you want your money back, we'll offer you your money back. We can't stay with your money. Mm-hmm. We then, once he posted the reviews, we then called him back and said, hey, if you've changed your mind, we would like to do this. We'll compensate you for whatever it is. Whatever it is, we want to make it right. We understand that our person made a mistake, and it was honestly not a reflection of our company, but at the same time, he was not willing to hear that, because he was right and the customer is right. It is not the salesperson's fault. It is our fault. Even though I talk about this, even though we put procedures in place, we put processes in place, the process sometimes fails.
Mistakes happen.
Mistakes happen.
Nobody is perfect. No organization or system is perfect or foolproof, overall. And some people also cannot be pleased, cannot be talked off that ledge, are not going to change their viewpoints, their assumptions, their judgments. They've had an experience that did not meet, their expectation level. Whether or not you could have ever met their expectation level remains to be seen overall. And some people, they're just not happy unless they're unhappy.
And we get
there are a lot of haters out there.
But you got to understand one thing, and I tell this to everybody, and I tell this to my people all the time. We have a job. If you're a salesperson, your job is to sell and make sure the furniture gets in the customer's house so you can get paid. Mm-hmm. My job as an entrepreneur or as a businessman is to make sure my customer is pleased. Mm-hmm. And if my customer is not pleased, I didn't do my job.
Yep.
Your job as a person who is an insurance broker is to make sure everybody's insured and they're covered. Because if you talk to somebody and they die without life insurance, you failed.
It's possible. I mean, look, you have to take responsibility. You've got to take ownership, and you've got to take accountability.
Right.
You can lead a horse to water, but you also cannot make them drink. We have to choose our clients as carefully as our clients should be choosing us.
Guaranteed.
Because these relationships are a two-way street. Guaranteed. And the way people get hired, fired, sued, this or that, is when miscommunication or misrepresentations happen. So I think it's a little different in a way from your business, but every business has its intricacies and its differences. But we want to choose our clients as carefully as our clients choose us, and we may not be the right fit for everybody out there.
Exactly.
And that's okay too. There's some things I think we do very, very well. There are other things maybe it's not really our wheelhouse. It's not the size, or it's not the scope, or we don't share the same philosophies, and as such, we may not be the right representation for you. But let me tell you who I think could work, for you there too, because it gets back to your other point about being happy and being excited to get up and go to work every day, and being able to go to battle on behalf of other people, on behalf of your team and the salespeople you want to make better, the inventory people and the guys in the warehouse you want to make safer, more productive, the truck guys you spin off the business that you talked about. And how great does it make you feel when those high performers are able to earn X amount of dollars, get things from point A to point B? I mean, you take a lot of pride.
Yeah, absolutely.
Take a lot of pride in that too, because they're strategic and positive relationships.
And honestly, talk about pride. If one of my guys who worked for me, I always call them my guys because they work for me. They're with me, right? I mean, some rarely use employee. I always call them my guys or my girls.
We're told to call colleagues now.
Colleagues.
We had a whole interfirm deal about referring to how we refer to our clients and how do we refer to our team members as colleagues.
Colleagues. So my colleagues, I mean, when they buy a car, when they buy a house, when they buy something nice, and it just fills my heart with joy, because you know what? When they succeed, I succeed. So I mean, that's very. Now tell me something, Greg. What is the most challenging part of your job? So challenging that it can become overwhelming sometimes. Because all of us have challenges in life.
Yeah.
And we all humans at the end of the day. And then sometimes we just become overwhelmed, and we're like, in our head, we say, fuck it. Mm-hmm. But then we're like, you know what? I have an obligation, so I got to do this. So what is it?
To me, it's the fear of letting somebody down. Like, I really take it to heart. I really take the responsibility of representing people to heart and trying to do a good job for them. So my biggest fear, the biggest challenge that I wrestle with is fear of letting people down. And by being a pleaser by nature and wanting, people to come back and say, wow, I really appreciate what you did, or you did that. It's challenging to me to also operate from a position of, we have to operate professionally. We have to do what's in the best interest of the client. We are doing our best here, and sometimes, you can also agree to disagree in there too. So that's the biggest thing to me, is the fear of letting anybody down. And because I'm constantly thinking about my clients and what's going on, my head is on a swivel. I feel like it's constantly going around. I mean, right now I have 3 or 4 claim situations that are going on in my head that I know I have to attend to as soon as we get finished with this. And the emails are going to be there, the calls are going to be there, and it's this guy's foundation, and it's this guy's pipe that is burst, and it's this incident with these trucks, and this person's renewal is coming up, and this is what's going, and you're spinning.
Yes, absolutely.
So that babbling answers your question, which is, okay, how do you dial it back and put it into a format that you can be productive for everybody and not operate in fear, but operation from a position of strength and competency?
Greg, what is an average day for Greg Shcienman looks like?
I wake up pretty early.
Mm-hmm.
Early for me is about 5:30.
Okay.
Typically, I wake up without an alarm. So I typically try to go to bed early, 9:30-ish, 10 o'clock. And I wake up, my natural clock gets me up about 5:30. Doesn't mean I always get up out of bed at that point. I use this little device on my wrist to help me. It's called the Whoop, and it tracks my sleep and my activity and my daily strain. So I'm up early, and I like to do that because my wife and my kids sleep, and it's my uninterrupted time to get up, make my coffee, take my Epsom salt bath, read, meditate, listen to Headspace, send out emails, of course, and get all that stuff done, while it's still kind of dark out. Take my dog for a walk. I really like my mornings, before the shitstorm of the day,
Yes,
starts to come into play. I don't like to work out particularly early at all. So that's what I do for usually the first 2 hours of the day. I kind of set my intention, try to clear my plate, put everything in front of the people that I needed to be in front of, so that then I used to take my kids to school most days. Mm-hmm. Now my older son is driving, which is really sad and scary and depressing for personally.
He don't want you there.
No, he just gets up and
if you go take him to drop him off, say, Dad, drop me off half a mile before the school.
Yeah, so he takes his brother to school now, so I've lost that time in the morning. Then I typically exercise. I typically work out and then get into the office usually by around 9, 10. And the day from there, my sole purpose is to try to keep my day on point and to try to limit however many things are getting in the way of the plan I've set for the day.
What time does day finish? What time do you?
We get home. I don't do a lot of evening activities after my after work activities, or when I'm finished with my day and I'm running around seeing clients constantly kind of on the go. Not that many come to me, I'm constantly out there. My days finish usually with one of my boys having some type of game, basketball, lacrosse, whatever they're at. So I try to get to as many of their games as I possibly can. And then we shoot for family dinner at home. Then it's homework, which I'm no longer capable of helping them with because their work has outgrown my education, my competency level. And then we try to watch, maybe we'll watch something. We're big into FBI and Blue Bloods and all these other shows, so we'll try to find an episode we watch together. And then it's done, 9:30, 10 o'clock.
9:30, 10, lights out, basically. Everybody's in their rooms.
As often as possible.
As often as possible. Now, what is your most memorable failures? And how did you overcome them?
I think the most memorable failure I had was...
Let me increase this question a little bit. Most memorable failure, how did you overcome them? And what did you learn from them?
It's a great three-parter. Okay. The most memorable failure I had when I knew I really failed was I owned a company called Team Baby Entertainment. It was a children's sports video company that started in a room no bigger than this one, creating these little children's sports DVDs, selling them out of the trunk of my car, and building this up into a relatively good-sized company, about a $10 million valuation at the time. And Michael Eisner, who was the former chairman of Disney, was bought in and was the partner. And I knew I failed. When I got a call from him, the business was heading in the wrong direction. This was the first time the lines were going in the opposite direction. And I got a call from him that basically said exactly that. You failed. We're done.
That's it.
We're done.
We failed. You're done.
Yep, we failed. You're done. No more money going in. Here's what we're going to do now. Basically, thank you very much.
So it was hold on. Let me wrap my head around it. It's a $10 million valuation company.
And it was plummeting. It was going down.
And it was going down.
It was going down.
How long did you see it going down before you got the call?
We had been struggling for about a year also.
Is this when the DVD was phasing out?
DVD was phasing out. There was a lot of backlash against children's edutainment, as they called it, putting kids in front of TVs, Baby Einstein, all kinds of stuff like that. We were the company, like the puppy dog that was no longer getting pet anymore, by his organization in a way. They'd moved on to some other things. And I was clamoring to try to figure out kind of what to do and how to do it.
And what year was this?
what are we, 2019 right now? 2007-ish?
2007-ish.
Around that time. And it crushed me because, my identity was largely associated with him, with this high profile endeavor, with this thing that I had kind of created overall. And overnight, I mean, just like there's no overnight success and there's no overnight failure either, but it felt like it was overnight. It's gone.
Gone.
It's gone. And you got to figure out who you are and what to do the following day.
Yeah.
So that was the biggest, and I almost titled my first book, Michael Eisner Bought My Company and Then I Successfully Failed. That was going to be the title to my book, my comeback there. So
that's how you failed.
That's one
how
area.
How did you
that
overcome that?
Through conversations like this. I considered him a mentor. I considered my father a mentor. Lost him early. When I did not know what to do and I wasn't sure of what to do next, and I did not have another $1 million idea, and I felt like I didn't necessarily have anybody else to turn to, I looked for conversations like this. So what I could do is I could talk, but I couldn't get anybody to talk to me. So I said, what if I bring a microphone and a camera and I can get people to talk to me? So that's how I created my first television show, which was called Profile, which was, I had this leftover equipment and gear from the failed company, and I called people that I thought were inspiring and interesting and that I could learn from and help, and asked to speak to them. And we ran 28 episodes on PBS for the next couple of years, where I learned, made connections, and I got these other people, quite frankly, to help pick me up off the ground.
So you were televising shows on PBS, and you had 28 episodes.
Yep. And it was all one-on-one conversations with prolific entrepreneurs and risk takers. And I did that over and over again until I figured out, do I have the strength to move on? How am I going to do it? How did these other people do it? And if they could do it, maybe I could do it again too.
So one-on-one talks, it was videoed, and then you televised it on PBS.
Basically, it was a chicken or the egg. I went to individuals I wanted to talk to, and I said, I have this television show. I'd love to follow you around and talk to you and ask you a bunch of questions. And they go, terrific. That sounds great. People tend to like talking about themselves.
Yeah.
Then I went to PBS and I said, these are the people I have. I have this television show. I'm going to bring it to you. Will you give me airtime? And they said, great. I don't know which way was first or second. It was kind of like, you need both. So there was a little misdirection, there, but we got it done.
Awesome. And so what did you learn from your failure?
Everybody fails. That was what I learned. Everybody fails at something. Some people fail more on a public stage, than others do. But what I learned from it is that the difference between success and failure is minute. And a lot of things, again, are out of your control also. And that if you allow one failure to define you, at that point you really are a failure.
So, for people who are listening to us, I mean, you had a company that was worth $10 million. I mean, that's fucking huge.
I think I've never been great with money.
but I want you to think, I mean, this can be a valuable lesson. I mean, man, you had $10 million one day and the next day it's gone. And
one valuation. I've never been a wealthy necessarily.
But it was a valuation of a $10 million company. I mean, if you would have sold it that day, you would have gotten paid at least.
With what I would have had something. I had a great partnership, high profile business. Things were going in a great spot for a guy in his 30s. Let's put it that way.
Exactly, and everything one day, the next day, boom, it all disappeared. So what I want people who are listening to this or watching this, want them to know, like, how do you deal with that? Because this can really be, I mean, an identity crisis for somebody. I mean, for some people, they might just never get back up. I mean, you're up here today. How did you do that? How did you deal with that?
Well, I think you got to look at, and I appreciate, I think you've got to look at the opportunities that are created from failure. And I saw over time a lot of opportunities that were created from this failure. One, I had to recapture, reclaim, rebrand, myself and my own identity. I had to try to use this, if you will, maybe leverage this into other opportunities to say, okay, I can apply what I've learned from this failure to maybe help other people avoid this. Talk about the risks again that I took, where I succeeded, where I failed. And it became obvious to me that I could evolve into this other side, go from risk taker in a way to risk manager, and apply a lot of what I learned into this new area of opportunity. And that we all have a story. It's just how we tell it. And can I appeal to entrepreneurs like yourself or other people and business owners? Can I appeal to them through the experiences that I've had? And does that help build a better rapport and better trust in areas that we're passionate about to try to represent them? And maybe help them avoid some of the situations in a way that happened to me also.
Greg, so let me ask you, someone who's listening to this show right now, or someone who's watching this clip or whatever it is, and they just opened up, let's just say, a supplement shop. I'm just going to go with supplements.
Yeah.
Vitamin shop. And they put 70,000 of their money in there. Business was going really good. And now all of a sudden, business shut down for them. And they think the world is over for them. What advice will you give to somebody who just failed?
Yeah.
What advice would you give to that young person who think the world is over? 30-year-old think the world is over.
Look, it happened to me this January. I opened up a gym 5 years ago called Row Studios. I got really into rowing, indoor rowing on these Concept 2 rowing machines. And I said, we can be the soul cycle of rowing. Okay. Rowing is going to be the new spinning, and we're going to open up this studio and we're going to crush it with this because I know a lot about fitness. And I love health and wellness and working out. So what do you do? I'm going to own a gym, right? I'm going to create this concept and do this because I've always had that entrepreneurial bug in there. So I did the same thing over there. Raised money from friends and a group of people. Put a deal together, signed a lease, opened up the place. Every business plan looks like everything is going to be successful. You've never seen a business plan that shows we're going to raise $500,000. We're going to open the doors. We're going to be in business for 3 years, and then we're going to flame out and go away. Okay?
Right.
That's never been written in any business plan, but
Never.
that's 90+% of what happens to new businesses that are out there. So in January, I sold out. I was taken out. The partners came to me and said, hey, we've been doing this for 5 years. We're pushing this boulder uphill. You're not getting it done. You're distracted. I failed again. We're replacing you. We're replacing you. You're out and we're selling, this thing. And it's open. The business is doing fine. Original partner took over. But to the person that's out there listening, this was really, really hard. I lost friends over this. Sleepless nights over this. Days that were starting at 4:30 in the morning and not ending until 11 o'clock, trying to, be and trying to please everybody again and work all these situations. And it was a failure to my reputation, I think. It was a failure personally, professionally, financially, on all levels again. I had something good going on the other, like still with the firm and Ins Group and everything else. But I had this other thing that was weighing me down also over there. So what I tell them is, there's always another opportunity. There's always another opportunity, provided you continue to move forward. Handle your shit though. I made some mistakes, not confronting some things head on, not speaking to people face to face. Okay. A lot of keyboard cowards out there that we talked about.
Yes.
A lot of keyboard cowards out there too. And that makes things very, very challenging in a lot of ways. And not everybody that you also think are your friends really have your best interests at heart. Also, you got to really be careful. Keep your circle tight. Try to speak to people face to face. Acknowledge your shortcomings. Say you're sorry. Take accountability. A lot of that stuff that I didn't do very, very well. And not all of your hobbies should become businesses. That's another thing I learned also.
So for the young person who's listening to it, who just failed, life is not over. Keep moving forward. Is that what you're saying?
100%. Here's another thing I learned. I am not a great CEO. I'm not you, Sam. I'm not Russell. I'm not a lot of these. I'm not my clients even. I learned I'm not really great at that. Leading a big team. In a way, even at my firm, I'm a shareholder, I'm a partner, but I am not the proverbial leader. Dealing with HR issues in our own benefits program and going to sleep at night, I don't know if I'm really cut out for that. And it took me 20 years to figure out that I don't actually need to own every business myself. I don't need to be the point person. My ego, okay, needs to chill the fuck out, a little bit.
So go back right there. I'm going to cut you off. The ego, and then we talked about social media, how they say, be your own boss. Don't grow someone else's dream. Don't do this. Don't do that. So are you telling me that you have a message for someone who's listening to that, who has just failed? It's okay to go work for somebody?
100%. 100%. My life has improved tenfold, okay? Since I started at our firm and have started to build my business through my clients and through serving other people.
All right, here.
Rather than putting myself, okay, and my ego and where I wanted to go and accomplish and that I could do it all myself and put everybody on my back and carry them forward. No,
So I had a conversation with a young gentleman the other day, and I'm like, well, I'm like, look, I don't want to hire you as your company, but I know you're not doing that well. Why don't you come work for me as in-house? And he said, I can never work for anybody.
Maybe, maybe not. And again, clearly, okay, there are plenty of people out there that works for.
But if you're failing and you can't work for, should you swallow your pride?
Maybe. I don't know if I can make that decision for anybody else.
No,
what
I'm
I
just
can
saying,
say is,
but as you,
in my own personal experience, is that you have to, I think, take a long, hard look in the mirror and at yourself. What is working and what is not working? How are you built? What's your end code? How are you designed? What makes you happy? What makes you motivated? What kind of work do you enjoy doing? Do you want the weight of the world on your shoulders every day? Or do you want to come and go as you please, work with who you want to work with, represent who you want to represent in each category or class of business, have time to exercise, see your family? Now, granted, maybe I make a whole hell of a lot less money. Or I'm worth a whole hell of a lot less than I was previously, or even to some of my partners. But am I happier? Am I more fulfilled? Do I have more purpose in what I do? Go watch Jerry Maguire again. We watch it,
Yeah.
Okay? You can say fewer clients, less money. What did it do? It got him fired. Do you find more purpose and intention? But here's the other thing. You may start off with fewer clients. Maybe you start off with less one. But ultimately, you can go wherever you want to. You can still go. And I take a lot of ownership in the business that I have right now and being a partner and doing all of those other things. But I do think I operate quite differently in there. And I think it's because I do have the unique perspective from the experiences that I have had. And I would be remiss and I'd be short-sighted, egotistical, arrogant, all of the other adjectives that you could throw on it if I didn't actually look at those and try to learn from them and do better.
That's some powerful shit. Thank you. That was a great message. So now let me ask you this. What do you wish you had known when you started out?
I wish I had known exactly what I just said before I started out. Okay. Because fast forward, I would have gone into the business that I'm in right fucking now. Okay. Straight out of college, when I had the most opportunity, knew the most people that were emerging wealth and doing all the things that you're doing. And I would have ridden that wave with them all the way up through there, and I would not have had to be hit over the head with a hammer, okay, as many times as I have been.
What is one thing that you want to get asked that you never get asked?
Great question. I asked that when my guests. And I've never had it turned around, back on me. Okay? But I think it has to do with, I was going to be asked anything that I never get asked.
Yeah.
I think it would be, what are you missing right now? What's missing? Because I do ask myself that question all the time. What's missing, if anything, in my life? On paper, I stack up, I think, pretty well. But do I still wake up fulfilled every day? Do I still wake up and go, holy shit, I got it, man. Like this is, rainbows and unicorns, Sam. This is terrific. Why is it so hard to just be okay, with things, to let things go, to look up at why is it so, we put so much pressure on ourselves? why is it so? I mean, it's a challenge, I think, with ambition, right?
Right.
It's a challenge with balance. Like, balance is total fallacy. I don't think anybody's really like that's what I'd probably want to be asked or talk about, and I feel like we could talk about for a while. Like, how to be satisfied, or like, does it make you lazy and complacent to just be satisfied and happy? Like, I always wonder about this, like the one hit wonder. You know, like they had that great hit song. They made all the money. You never heard from him.
Never heard back from him. Yeah.
And I kind of like sometimes look at it and go, was that on purpose? Like, did this guy really just get it right? Like, he wrote the song, he made millions of dollars off the song, and now he's just living, man.
Complacent.
Yeah, as you said, you nowhere to go but down from there. He just thought, I'm just gonna go live.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Versus the others that, like, the Stones are still touring. You know, like,
I mean, you know, you remember, you think about Vanilla Ice and you only think about Ice Ice Baby.
He's one of us. Yeah.
And I mean, MC Hammer was known for a bunch of things, but you know, can't touch this. That's it.
I mean,
really.
I think I think people have their hits, and it's got to be, you know, it's got to be rough, I think, for guys that are out there having to sing the same song over and over again. We can use this analogy towards other aspects of life versus ones, you know, what happens at the concerts that you go to. I love using music as a, you know, they go, I'm going to play you something from the new album. And what happens? Everybody gets up and goes to the fucking bathroom. You know, we're not here for that. We want to hear the hit.
We want to hear the hit.
We want to hear the hit.
And you know, that's one thing, because people, like, sometimes they change, and like the big fans, you know, like, and we can talk about, you know, some music artists and stuff, and it's like Bono or like U2, and you know, they come up with a new album, and their fans, the core fans, they want to listen to the old ones, and a lot can change. Let me ask you a couple of questions so we can wind this up.
Yeah.
Do you travel?
Not as much as I would like. But we love to travel.
Bucket list destination.
Oh man.
You can give me two.
Yeah.
Or three.
So for my wife, it's Greece. She's never been to Greece, and I know she really wants to go. So that's absolutely a destination for us that's coming up. I was fortunate enough to go in my 20s. This will be a very different trip when we go together. But one of them is to be able to take her there as a bucket list item for that. For me, I've always wanted. I like experiences in a way. And again, I like those experiences that can combine some athleticism and activity, you know, with unbelievable geography. So I'd like to go to Australia and I'd like to surf, and I'd like to hike, and I'd like to bike, and I'd like to explore. I like to be moving around. I just don't like to, let's just go sit.
So let's just say Australia and Greece. If you're just going to go to Australia, you're going to visit New Zealand also.
I think if you're there, right? You
have to go there, right?
You made the trek, right? You might as well. You got to see as much as you can.
You might as well. But it's a long trip also. You know, 14, 16 days. Two things or three things, whatever you want to. But if you have to say, let me rephrase it. Let me think how I'm going to ask this question. If there's two things that you can leave for the future generation, or your future generation and people out there in the world, two things, what would it be?
Two things that I could leave for future generations?
For your kids.
I'm going to apologize. I was daydreaming, okay, about how much I enjoy having these conversations and sitting here just looking around going, this is so much fun.
Yeah, it is fun.
Like, and you're doing such a great job with it, and you got Carlos back there, and the cameras and the light. I completely didn't pay almost any attention to your question because I was like so lost in the. This is so cool.
So let me tell you again. You know, people who will see the studio on YouTube. You know, we put it on. Carlos it was an inspiration by Carlos. So you know, and he did a good job. Him and Sean went and picked out everything, and I think made it all happen and couple of days.
And it's awesome. So I was like looking at the stuff on the wall, okay, listening to you, thinking about like your California story and going out there and starting. Totally missed your question. Totally. So again, if you're at home and you're listening to any of this stuff, do not think that I in any way, shape, or form have my shit together. Okay, at all. I'm a freaking train wreck. Okay, and you can space out and just turn around and say, "Hey, I missed it, man. I made a mistake. I totally wasn't listening to you."
Let me repeat it. If there is two things that you can leave for the future generation, your kids and people out there, non-related to you.
Yep.
Two things that you can say, hey, if today's the last day in the world, what will it be?
I mean, from my kids, which are the most important thing to me, to my boys, I just want them to feel loved. I just want them to feel like my dad was good to me. Like he was a good guy. He was there and he did his absolute best, and that they feel in their heart of hearts and deep down that I was the best friend that they could possibly have.
And so what would you say to them? Two things. Would you write it down? Or something that they might not see until, or something you tell them.
This is where I may lose it. Okay.
Something during your lifetime.
Yeah. So above my bed, like right to the side of my bed, I have a letter that my dad wrote me, and he wrote it to me like 2 months before he passed away, that he was there. So the handwriting's a little shaky and everything else, but at the heart of it, it says in there that there are many men out there with more money, or success than I have, but none of them can feel more fulfilled and richer than I do when I look into the eyes of you and your brothers are out there. And I want them to feel the same way. There are a number of ways to define success and failure and legacy and all of those things, but I don't know if any of them necessarily really matter other than what you really feel in your heart and in your head.
So you would want your kids to know that you make them a better person.
That's what I would tell them, that they have made me a better person.
Awesome.
Not the other way around. I hope that I've made them better people and that I've inspired them and given them some things to think about and some tools to be overall successful and live a good life. But they've made me a better person.
Greg Shcienman, two things to the world.
And to the world, one, I would say you can consider anything that I've said or done, and you can look at me through any lens that you want to. But also, please think for yourself.
Please think for yourself.
Please think for yourself.
Give me a second one.
Enjoy would be it.
Enjoy.
I think they'll enjoy and stop to find things in your life and in your world that bring you enjoyment without looking around and comparing your life to anybody else's.
I love it. Thank you for being over here, man.
Hey, this was awesome. Thank you so much for having me, Sam. I really enjoyed this. The best.
This was great. I loved it.
This is where good conversation lives, right?